This is a presentation on research-based strategies to use for teaching vocabulary and reading comprehension. To begin, we'll look at the 3 levels of vocabulary learning. When learning vocabulary words and concepts, they are learned by degree. So we begin with Tier 1, which is basic speaking vocabulary. And there are approximately 8,000 basic speaking vocabulary words that do not require instruction for most students. They are words that are very basic and do occur often within the English language. 2 examples are dog and clock. Tier 2 is the elaborated speaking vocabulary, and there are approximately 7,000 words that do require explicit instruction. They're generally considered high-frequency words within an adult's language and often spoken by well-educated people. The words are encountered throughout several knowledge domains, and 2 examples are coincidence and spectacular. The 3rd tier is academic knowledge domain vocabulary, and these are words that are very specific to content areas such as science and mathematics. They're definitely considered low-frequency words, and the 2 examples are lathe and isotope. One of the methods for teaching vocabulary is using word maps. These are also known as word webs, concept maps, and semantic maps. And they're basically graphic organizers that allow students to identify the nature of the relationship of the meaning of the word, so they can bring a deeper meaning to it versus just defining the word. They're extending their learning. It's suggested that teachers review units ahead of time in the content area they'll be teaching and choosing concept, facts, and terms that they would like to use with their students. Within the word map, 3 important questions are identified. First is, what is it? What is the word? Second, what is it like? And the third is, what are some examples? So these are questions that allow the students to connect the word to their own world experiences, or to world experiences they're learning about, and their own prior knowledge. Here's an example of one. I've taken the word law, and you can see the first question, what is it? There's a simple definition, rules to follow. Then to the right, it says, the question is, what is it like? Well, here are examples that are more relatable to students: rules in school, guidelines, expectations, ways for them to understand and identify what law is like. And then what are examples? So here are some: do not steal, do not hurt others, obey traffic laws. And this just builds the students' background knowledge and helps them connect with the words more and understand them better. Another method is using the Frayer Model, which I wrote meaningful way to teach vocabulary and context, because it's very meaningful. It allows students to understand new vocabulary and concepts and relate it to what they know already. So to begin, you have a definition. So here's the word reptile, and it's defined as a cold-blooded animal that breathes air. Then the students get to identify the characteristics that go with this word. So scales, lays eggs, etc. Then actual examples are given: snake and lizard. And then non-examples helps them to understand, well, this is what's different than what this word is. So in this case, monkey, fish, and birds. This is also really good for teaching nonfiction terms and academic vocabulary. Strategy for teaching comprehension is the QAR. It's a research-based comprehension strategy, question-answer relationships. The purpose of the QAR strategy is to help students understand the relationship between the question and the answer. It focuses on 4 question-answer relationships to help students identify the type of questions that they're going to ask what they're reading and connect it with the information in order to answer these questions. The first is right there: think and search, author and me, and then on my own. Students can learn that they can look for the answer directly in the text, or they may find the answer in their head. Here's examples. So the first one is right there, and these are, the answer can be found right in the text. Students use the words from the question to help them find the answer. Examples could be who, what, where, when, and how. Think and search, they have to dig a little bit deeper. They can find the answer in the text, but they may have to look in several sentences, read over several pages, several paragraphs. Then author and me. This is where they cannot find the answer directly in the text. They need to make inferences, use the story, and connect it to what they already know with what they're reading. An example question could be, can you predict what will happen? Then on my own, this is a question that cannot be found, the answer cannot be found in the text. So the reader is answering based on their opinion, using their own experiences and their ideas. An example could be, how do you feel? Maybe compare them to another character or character in the story. How do you feel? Or how would you feel if you experienced what this character experienced? Next, we're going to move on to meeting the needs of students who need extra help with reading comprehension. One strategy that I would like to use in my classroom is the Comprehension Under Construction, CUC. This is for your readers who may be struggling. It's best done as a small group activity, and I find it's very student-centered because students are assigned job titles, and they're going to build their reading comprehension together as a group. So it starts off with the teacher as the foreman, and the teacher's modeling the different stages, and then each student is assigned a job. So there's an architect. The architect will make the predictions within the group. There's the job inspector who will look at the meanings of words and ideas and clarify them within the group. The electrician is the one who is going to provide questions that will provoke the sparks and get the interest going within the group. And then the bricklayer is going to connect the main ideas and form it into a summary in a way that is cohesive. So this is a strategy that takes place in stages. So first the teacher would model, and then the second stage, the students will begin to work collaboratively, but this is guided practice. And then in the third stage, they function more independently. And finally, this is where they are more independent and they're being able to use these skills on their own. So I love this. I want to use this with my students because I think it would be high interest for them, very student-centered, and great way to help them build their reading comprehension. What's very important to me is finding ways to teach reading to my English language learners, which I always have several in my classroom. So to begin, it's important that instructors understand this, what ELLs come in with, and they tend to be able to comprehend their reading better than they're actually able to communicate it verbally when speaking in English. So that shouldn't be overlooked by teachers, which leads to them not underestimating the ELL students' abilities to read more difficult texts, use the higher order activities involving discussion and comprehension because they can use them. Don't assume that they can't. Instructional strategies that I use and intend to continue to use and build upon is to provide language-rich vocabulary instruction, and very important is to use the background knowledge to build their comprehension. Look at their culture. How can you connect it to their culture so that it's relevant for them? And again, there's that interest where you're helping them relate and connect with it, which is definitely going to be more meaningful for them. There's also using synopsis text, which is identifying the key ideas from the text. Students are able to build this background. They're going to read the text twice, and then they're going to work in groups to identify the key points. What are the most important points within the text? And then from there, they write a question about the reading. The last strategy is the SLICK strategy. And this is intended for students with mild learning disabilities. And basically, the idea is to direct students to understanding the parts of expository text and active listening and integrating new knowledge. The SLICK note-taking strategy, it involves students actually taking notes. So they set it up, they get their materials ready. They may be listening to text and they need their note-taking materials. And then they look ahead, they look at the graphics, they look at the heading in the story, they look at the vocabulary and fill out a form, identifying anything that they see may help them with the reading. Then they're going to listen to the text, and this is where they're comprehending. They're listing details and adding more information to their forms. And then finally, keep it together. They're going to reread what they had synthesized. So they're going to look over their notes and then anticipate any questions they might have. And this is what they do in pairs or in groups. And that is basically everything for this presentation. Thank you very much.